Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Aarna Sahu, host of Aarna's News, where on this podcast channel, I aim to eliminate the gender gap in the STEM fields by featuring inspiring female professionals and highlighting their stories and accomplishments to further encourage girls. Today on episode 65.
Fall in love with change, fall in love with challenges and learning. One of the things that is really exciting about working in tech is it's always changing. There's always something new. And oftentimes it changes in ways that you didn't expect, or if you read like sci-fi, if you're into like sci-fi novels, you think something's never going to happen and you're like, oh, it's way out there in the future. But then, 5, 10, 20, 30 years down the line, you see it happen, you realize it, and you're in the career. And so being able to just love the change and the challenge, I think, is really paramount to being in tech, having a great career and loving what you do when you work in technology.
Today on episode 65, I'm pleased to announce our guest, Marisa Hambleton. As the founder and CEO at MH2X, she has over 20 years of specialized delivery leadership of enterprise solutions since 2009 on and around the Salesforce platform. During her time at IBM, she worked with teams and business partners across the globe, overseeing highly complex software engineering projects. She is a trailblazer, technologist, and entrepreneur who loves helping communities overcome business challenges by optimizing and connecting their tech stack. She is a Salesforce MVP and passionate advocate for her local Salesforce community, co-leading the Salesforce Phoenix Developer Group, Cactus Forest Conference organizer, founding member of the Salesforce Phoenix Women in Tech, formerly Girly Geeks, and led the Salesforce Phoenix user group from 2013 to 2018. Marisa is a wife, mother of 3 children, a grandma to 1 grandson, and has 3 cats, fosters 1 teen and 1 dog. She's a voracious reader and an arts advocate, and she enjoys camping, loves writing, and telling stories about growing up in El Paso, Texas. Well, thank you so much, Marisa, for being here today. Before we dive into the questions, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, I'm Marisa Hambleton, as Aarna mentioned, and I'm very delighted to be here. In addition to the wonderful intro that you just read off, thank you, Aarna. I do believe that we rise by lifting others, and that has been a guiding light for me during my career. And I'm a geek at heart. And as far as my career in tech, it's been a long, windy road. And I also believe in promoting gender parity and helping women rise up and get involved in tech and connecting with each other to make the world a better place.
I love that. So my first question for you is, tell us a bit about your career path.
Yes. So my career path has been rather windy, but I have loved technology for as long as I can remember. My father was an automotive mechanic, and machines just always fascinated me from the time I was a young child. And as soon as I realized computers existed back in the day, I knew that I wanted to work with them. So I had the pleasure of working in a lot of different industries and energy, real estate, healthcare, early in my career as an associate programmer and systems analyst. And a little bit later on, I went to work for a software company as a project manager. But I was always hands-on. I always was one of those people that wanted to, roll up my sleeves and get my hands dirty and just learn everything I could. I realized that I have a gift for project management and delivery, and I really cared about how the customers received any products, whether they were internal customers or external customers outside of the company. And I just ended up veering into project management more than like coding. But I always loved to know how the code worked. I loved, to be able to read it and understand it. But the project management was really where my real passion lied. And I when I learned that Salesforce existed after leaving IBM, that was an interesting twist for me because I wasn't really interested in CRM, and it kind of seemed like something I didn't want to get into. But once I learned that it was a cloud platform and it was a multi-tenant cloud platform, which back in 2009 was still like very new and cutting edge. A lot of people didn't really trust cloud, and so it was really a curious thing for me to just get into. I dove in headfirst and been in it ever since.
I absolutely love that. I mean, your experiences were really different. You went through so many different careers and, roles, but at the end you kind of found yourself at Salesforce, which is super exciting, and you've thrived ever since.
Indeed, indeed.
All right. So my question for you is, what advice would you give someone wanting to pursue a career similar to yours? And do you have any tips to succeed?
Sure, I do actually. I think the best advice that I would give someone, early career, getting, just exploring technology, is fall in love with change, fall in love with challenges, and learning. One of the things that is really exciting about working in tech is it's always changing. There's always something new, and oftentimes it changes in ways that you didn't expect. Or if you read like sci-fi, if you're into like sci-fi novels, you think something's never going to happen, and you're like, oh, it's way out there in the future. But then 5, 10, 20, 30 years down the line, you see it happen, you realize it, and you're in the career. And so being able to just love the change and the challenge, I think, is really paramount to being in tech, having a great career, and loving what you do when you're working technology.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. Fall in love with the challenges, the change, and also the learning because, technology is always emerging. Like with the last few months, it's a real testament to it with, artificial intelligence and machine learning. But also, this kind of goes to anything. If you really want to love something, you've got to romanticize it. You've got to love it because, in your career, there's always going to be challenges and changes that come into your way. But if you kind of get into the routine of knowing what they are, and being prepared for it, then it can actually help you propel yourself in whatever journey you may be in. And especially in STEM and computer science and technology and IT, you have to kind of be comfortable with changes because, everything is moving very fast. So that is something that you should definitely be prepared for if you're interested in a career somewhere here.
Yes.
All right. And what is a common myth about your profession that you want to debunk?
Oh gosh. So I've got a couple. One is that women can't be moms and have a career in tech, a successful career in tech. Um, I, again, as I mentioned early on, I have been in love with technology, for my whole life. And as a young girl, there was very few other girls that were taking programming classes. It was mostly boys. I think there was one class where it was just me and one other girl, and quickly became friends and we're helping each other out. And as we finished school and got into the working world, it was always few women, and often as few mothers. And as a mother, it's there was challenges in, I don't like to use the word balance because it infers that everything has to be equal, and it doesn't. And I think that's a big myth, is, again, as a woman, as a mother, and the different things you care about, caring for your family, caring for yourself, it can be unbalanced. And that's how any career is, but specifically in technology, has always been very male oriented, or in modern times, male oriented. Um, it's easy to think that, okay, you can't be a mom and take care of your children and your family, and have a successful career. And that's absolutely not true. I feel like I'm proof of that because I have a very full, busy life. I have a big family. My children are grown, mostly grown. My youngest is in high school, and sometimes there's a lot of give and take where I'm working more, and then there's other times that I'm with my family more, and there's different seasons throughout their lives and my life that things just they cycle through up and down, and sometimes things are very smooth and there's not a lot of tumultuous things happening and life is just kind of gliding along, and that's okay. But then other times like COVID, where it's a really, really big challenge. But I believe that women are uniquely equipped for times like that. And so I just like to tell like young girls especially that if you want to be a mother and you want to have a career in tech, that it's absolutely possible. I think that it's definitely possible. The other one is tech careers are only for young people. I'm no longer a young woman, and I feel like this part of my career where I'm older, I'm more mature, I have a lot more to give in terms of mentorship to younger women, especially. And, as far as the way you approach your career and the trajectory of, when you're just getting started and you're learning, and there's a lot of, different directions you can take, whether or not to maybe stay in a individual contributor role or, become a leader in a large organization, or what type of organization to work for, or like in my case where I chose to pursue entrepreneurship. And it's something that as you age and get older, it doesn't mean that you can't contribute or that you're not capable. And that's where, going back to the advice that I would give to someone wanting to pursue a career similar to mine is that it's the love, loving the change, the challenge, and the learning, that it lasts, as long as you want it to last. I can see myself doing this, well into retirement even. So that would be the other one is, tech careers are not only for young people. As far as, your success, you define what it means to you, and what your career success means, and it changes over time. And again, is your success as a young person versus success as a more mature person is different. As you go through the years of different jobs and roles, and learning different technologies, etc.
Absolutely. Like I feel like a lot of people think that once women kind of settle into, having marriage and, having a family, that's it for them and they should stop with their careers. But that's absolutely bogus because people can do both. I mean, like even like as a young girl, you shouldn't think that once you start thinking about your personal life, your professional career and journey should stop. You can take things into your own account. You can do whatever you want. Don't let society judge what you should be doing based on, your societal norms, quote unquote. But also that tech and STEM and like things like that are only for young people. That's completely wrong because as you get more experience with technology, it's actually much better for you. You're kind of more well equipped with what to do. You can provide so many amazing mentorship opportunities to the young folks, but also as you progress and get older, you have a lot more responsibility, and you can take a lot of things in charge, and kind of guide those young folks along. So there's not only a specific set of things that only young people can do, because tech and STEM is here to retain people of all ages and of all genders. So that's something you should definitely keep in mind, and you should be interested in, because STEM is for everyone. Yeah, so my question for you after that one is, if you could step into my shoes or a younger self, what would you have asked yourself that I didn't?
Well, first I would make a statement, and I would say define what success means to you. Like create your own definition of success, and and be okay with changing your mind. or you ask yourself, is it okay to change my mind? And that's something that I didn't really ask myself that question as a young person. uh, I think that, again, just my own personal journey, that I always loved technology. I always knew that my career would be in technology regardless of the roles or the platforms or languages that I would be working in, or frameworks. And I just never asked myself, is it okay to change my mind? Because um, my family and my upbringing, culturally, everybody, you go to college, you study a thing, and that's the thing you do for the rest of your life. And it's so not true, especially not these days. I don't think it was. It might have been true a long, long time ago, but it really is okay to change your mind and ask yourself that question. So and define, what does success mean to me, and ask yourself that question like over and over again, because it does changes, when you first get started, like early in your career, or if you're making college decisions even, what are you going to study, or while you're in college, and the things that you're learning and experiencing and trying out. It's something that you might get into something and realize that, well, okay, I don't really like this, it's not really for me, or it's maybe the environment isn't what you thought it would be in a specific industry or type of role. And again, it's okay to ask yourself, is it okay to change my mind, and what does success mean to me, so that you can, as you go through your career, it's okay to change directions.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm a pretty stubborn person myself. So when things don't go my way, I get kind of knocked off and I start to panic because if I have a specific metric in one type of, way, if things don't go that way, then things start to get really wrong for me. But it's okay to kind of change your mind on things. And that's something that I'm trying to work on. It's okay to kind of change your mind and your mindset on what success is to yourself because success is really different. Like the way success is perceived is very different person to person. And it's okay if you change that type of metric and if you change that type of number, like, oh, success for me is if I get this title. It doesn't necessarily have to be something like that. It could be based on your happiness or things that are relevant to that. And just living a fulfilled life based on how you perceive success and being okay if it fluctuates is something that you should definitely implement in your daily life. Okay. And what are the best resources slash books that have helped you find your career path?
So I have something that's really not traditional. Is when I was in high school, I was taking a COBOL class, and the teacher showed us Tron, the movie from 1982. And that really was I would say that was like a precipice for me, because I knew computers existed. I knew that it was something I wanted to do, but just watching that film, I feel like really did have a big impact, because it just kind of created it. It made my imagination go wild. Like, wow, maybe something like this is possible in the future. And that teacher at the time talked about, like, yeah, in the future, the code's going to write itself. Now we have ChatGPT, and we can tell it to write the code, and it's really incredible. So, as far as like a single book or resource, I read a lot. I read so much that I don't have any one particular one that has really made a big impact. What I would say is that read as much as you can, like whatever area. O'Reilly puts out a lot of really good technical books. It's, as far as like technical resources, again, because they change so much, it's hard for those, for books to stay current. And so, you read something as a reference or hold on to it for a little bit, and then, it's out of date very quickly. I think just general professional development. I love reading a lot, just any kind of, personal, professional development, and like leadership, or, I mentioned that I got into project management. So, I read a lot about project management, coaching, and, dealing with teams. So, I would just say, again, find kind of an area, and then whoever the thought leaders are, or the subject matter experts, just read everything they put out, which is usually what I do. Is, whatever different area that you need to increase your knowledge, I would just, read as much as you can. I do work in Salesforce for the last 14 years. So I spend a lot of time on Trailhead, which is Salesforce's free learning and training platform. And when I first started in Salesforce, they didn't have that. I literally was reading their whole like 300-page like read me setup guide. I do go through all the help menus, just any way I could. So again, just being a voracious reader, I would just read as much as I could. I meet people. I think, really people are a great resource because there's not always a book available to help you learn the thing that you need to learn. And so, relying on people, which again, the Salesforce community, which is one of the reasons I'm a really big advocate, is helping other people. Like I needed help at one time when I was new to the platform, and now that I'm considered like a old timer veteran, I like to be that resource to other people to help them, learn what they need to learn about Salesforce as a platform.
Absolutely. And what do you think is the vital factor that shaped your career? What was your life before learning it, and what was your life after learning it?
Ooh, well, that's so really, I would say early exposure. As I mentioned, I grew up in an area that was, I would say, was like the opposite of Silicon Valley. It's very low tech, and so the fact that I did get early exposure to technology and had the ability to experiment really made a really big difference for me, because otherwise I wouldn't have even known it existed. And it just, again, I could use my imagination. I could try things out, with old basic, TRS-80 computers, old Apple IIe computers, and that was really important. Just really early, that got my little brain thinking, like, my young brain, like, ooh, there's all these possibilities and roles. And in college, just having the ability to learn about the different careers as like a programmer or systems analyst or database administrator, or like you know uh, a designer of some sort, or systems designer. So those were different things that I was exposed to early, before I started my career. And then after, now later on now in my career, there's all just so many more possibilities, technical architects, and now like a designer is like a UI UX designer. So just having all these different ways that you can interact with like a specific platform or technology or language. And me, again, as a project manager, I I get to interact with all the different roles and people that are in those roles. And so it's you know it's really great. uh, just I get to learn a lot. I get to work with a lot of smart people that know more than I do, and I get to learn a little bit in as well. I would also mention that as far as like your career trajectory and your career life, before and after learning something, that technology does require a lot of creativity so that you can be innovative and finding different solutions to common problems. And that to me, I think, is kind of a more um, core factor that did contribute to me like really having a really varied experience working in tech and STEM, in the STEM field. And it shapes my my life as an entrepreneur and how I approach work with my customers and colleagues.
Yeah, absolutely. Like exposure at a really young age can really help you kind of be more interested in different fields because in technology, especially, you don't always have to be a programmer. Like you don't have to be a hard coder. You can always marry your interests with something else. And just knowing that technology is a really powerful tool that you can do so with. Like if you're interested in humanities, like say specifically like you're interested in fashion, you can marry that interest with technology and build a cool business out of, your interest in fashion. And there's so many amazing things that you can do if you're exposed to what the power of technology beholds. So that's something that I really love about what you just said. And also that, IT is very creative. And it's not really a boring type of profession that a lot of people do. There's a lot of creativity, problem solving, and just things that stimulate your mind a lot that goes behind what other people don't really see who are onlookers. And yeah, because we have some additional time, my question for you is what's one thing you wish you had known when you began your career path?
Ooh, so many things. I would say be an ally with other women is really the number one. I think I was really fortunate that again, culturally, where I'm from, my community, I'm from El Paso, Texas, and my mother was a stay-at-home mother, but a lot of what I saw her and other moms is that they all joined the PTA and they all helped each other out, and they did their carpool, and they were very active in the local community. And whenever one of them needed help, everybody pitched in. And I brought that with me into my career. And because there were very few women, I I really just embraced that, is finding the other women, help each other out, help elevate each other. Sometimes that's not always a case. And when it's not the case, I advocate for setting boundaries, very strict boundaries, with yourself, with your work. That kind of goes back to the give and take and balance, quote unquote balance of work and personal life. And then I would also say have a professional development plan. So I think just the setting boundaries, having a professional development plan is, again, working in tech. There's always something new to learn. There's always change and challenge, and you have to make time for yourself to keep learning. It's good for your career. It's good for you. It helps you from being stuck in, let's say, if you go work for a company that maybe you're not real happy at. If you have a professional development plan, you can always be looking to the next, either the next position in a company, or it keeps your creativity alive, so that you can have always a plan and a solution, and kind of thinking about, okay, how can I make things better? How can I improve my work situation if it's not good? Or if it is going well, maybe you think, okay, I might be outgrowing this company, and you are starting to look out for other opportunities. So just having a professional development plan where you're always learning and just always open to whatever the next big thing is would be my advice.
Absolutely. And these women like support systems, they don't always have to be, in companies. It can be in, workplaces like, at school or, at other places. Typically a lot of companies they do have these types of support systems for other women, to find allies. But if there isn't, honestly, just build one, find your other friends, make some type of, group chat or something. And if you see other women in your company or network, invite them and just build this type of system where, you guys can rely on each other and just be a trailblazer in that sense and really make a lot of people's lives easier if you do one. And yeah, and my last question for you is how do you continue to learn in order to stay on top of things within your role?
Okay, by any means possible. As I mentioned, I read a lot. So my favorite magazine is Wired. I think it's just I've always loved that magazine. I read a lot of Wired magazine. I think I read every single episode, every single um, publication of Wired during COVID. It's just it's all tech in all different walks of life, and just all the ways technology intersects with everyday life. So I love reading. I just casual reading, like the tech section of any major newspaper, industry journals, like ACM, or jump on like Stack Overflow and, see what people are talking about, or like forums, or like if you're a gamer, get on a Discord. So I would just say that, really by any means possible, sometimes books, but, just journals, maybe even sometimes jump on social media a little bit and see what people are talking about. I think right now with the Chat GPT, there's a lot of really great conversations going on. And it's good to really keep your finger on the pulse and really like form an opinion and have a point of view about, what is happening in technology and what impact it has on like your everyday life, your career, but also like society. What does it mean, for us as, humans that there's artificial intelligence, like realistically, and maybe let yourself have a little imagination and go sci-fi, Skynet, just to kind of think of the possibilities so that you can, again, just keep learning, staying on top of things, ask yourself, like, what does this really mean to my role? It's good to have other conversations, as I mentioned, being an ally with other women is, talk about that, talk about, with other women in your network, what do these new technologies mean? And so, that all becomes part of, how do you stay on top of things, connecting with other people, reading and doing your own personal learning, and always exploring, always be learning, and be a trailblazer.
Yes, I love that. And before we end off this interview, do you have any last words to the audience?
I would just be a trailblazer for your own life. Have fun. Have fun.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I love talking to you, Marisa, and I hope you have the best rest of your day.
Thank you.
And here are my 3 cents on this episode with Marisa. 1. Embrace change and challenges in technology careers. She emphasizes the importance of embracing change and challenges in the technology field. Technology is constantly evolving, and successful tech professionals must have a passion for learning and adapting to new technologies and trends. This mindset is crucial for a rewarding career in technology. 2. The myth of balancing career and family. She challenges the myth that women can't have a successful career in technology while also being mothers. She shares her experience as a mother and a tech professional, highlighting that it is possible to strike a balance between family life and a career in tech. This challenges the stereotype and encourages women to pursue tech careers without compromising their personal lives. And 3. Define success and be open to change. She emphasizes the importance of defining what success means to you and being open to changing your goals and aspirations throughout your career. Success can evolve as you gain experience and learn new things. It's essential to periodically reevaluate your definition of success and be flexible in adapting to different roles and opportunities. Thus, that concludes the episode for this week. If you want to know more about how I relate to these amazing topics, then stay tuned for upcoming episodes. A free way to support this show is by leaving it a 5-star rating and a review on the player you are listening to. Let me know what you enjoy about this podcast, as it's a chance to tell me what you love about the show, and it helps others discover it too. Once again, thank you for finding me, and I hope we stay in touch with each other. Dito, you're listening to Aarna Sahu, the host of Aarna's News. Toodles!